All right, episode number 3, XFR Roping Talk Show. This is going to be presented to you by RPX, supplementing the American Cowboy. Today's episode, we get a couple healers on, Wesley Thorp, Paden Bray. You know, there's been a lot of recent events with Crossfire rules, things like that. So we kind of dove into it with both these guys a little bit. It's pretty fun. Also, we talked to Wesley, get a really good perspective about what he's going on in his life, what he got going on in his life. Also, Peyton Bray's is kind of unique in the sense of we've been doing rundown episodes where we have a screen that we can draw on, and it makes it pretty unique to watch the video aspect of this. So for people that are listening to the podcast, you might want to check that out on our YouTube channel or xfactorroping.com, because we get into a few of the runs from the NFR from San Antonio and then some personal videos that X Factor Roping had shot, and we talk about the Crossfire rule and kind of where that comes into play, and also like where steers are legal and kind of how we see it and these guys see it as well. So kind of a unique episode in how we did it.
Yeah, for sure. And for all you people out there listening on the episode, on the podcast, if there's a couple things during Peyton's interview that we talked about where you're a little unsure of what we're really going with and talking about, check it out on YouTube or on the xfactorroping.com website. And it's pretty cool. We can really kind of break it down and see what he thinks. So, and don't forget, this episode is brought to you by RPX Enterprises, supplementing the American Cowboy.
XFR Talk Show, episode number 3. RPX Enterprises is going to bring us this show, supplementing the American Cowboy. Our first guest, man, I started writing down like all the accomplishments, and it's a long list. So, USTRC all-time money earner before the age of 17. I don't even know. We haven't checked the stats on that, but I can guarantee it's this guy. 2-time college finals champion, 6-time NFR qualifier, BFI champion, world champion, average champion, Wesley Thorp. Thanks for coming on, man.
He's everything champion, Wesley.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
All right, man. Well, you know, with this show, I think obviously we love to kind of discuss like events and things that's kind of went on. And, you know, we've got Paden Bray coming on a little bit later, and we're going to talk about the Crossfire rule and what it's like being a healer with where the roping is so fast now and how it's kind of changed. But, you know, the one thing that happened to you this summer I was kind of curious about was Pendleton. Was it round 1 with you guys?
Yes, it was the first round at Pendleton.
So kind of take me through what happened over there at Pendleton, because they pretty much stopped the slack for a little bit. And, you know, that's all I really know.
Yeah, we had a really good steer. Cody got a good start, headed him about a coil away, and he just rolled him out the front, did a really good job handling him. And the steer, he rolled, and when he got legal, like I threw it, and then about the next, what would have been the next hop, he slipped. And so like he slipped and his hips went down the arena, and that was when my loop hit. So like from a certain angle, the flag, or like the way it's written in the rules, is it's a completed switch, you know, has to occur. So the flaggers misinterpret that for technically after the steer was legal, he switched again. And that was what he was seeing as a crossfire per se. And anyway, I healed him. It was blatantly legal, but as we went on, they've added a new judge in the arena to a second opinion per se. And we were sitting on the sideline, and about 3 or 4 teams went, and the judge that was on the ground went and said he thought that was a crossfire. So they called it out, you know, a few teams later. Anyway, it was a pretty controversial call. A lot of people stuck up for us and helped us. And yeah, it did hold up the slack for a few minutes, but it was just one of those situations where it wasn't really even close to a crossfire, but the way the rule's written, there's a lot of gray area in how the flaggers interpret that rule, especially the ones that aren't as team roper savvy.
So initially,
there's just a lot of gray area.
Right. So initially, was it called a crossfire by the flagger that was flagging, or was it legal initially? And then the second opinion guy said it was a crossfire.
It was flagged clean, and then I happened to just coincidentally walk over and sit on the sidelines not far behind the flagger, and about one or two teams later, I saw the guy that was on the ground go and talk to the flagger, and they kind of talked back and forth, and the next thing you know, he flagged it as a crossfire, or, he radioed in and they called us out as a no time. So it was definitely after the fact. The flagger did not flag it out for the time being. He actually flagged it clein.
And I'm sure Cody Snow kept his composure.
If you really want to go, I told after the Colorado Springs deal, I told Cody it was his turn. I was going to let the dog off the leash. He could have at it.
Yeah.
But
let the red hair come out.
I was going to take a break, but it was just a strange deal. Even watching the video, the one that was on the ground, he didn't have he couldn't even have seen the flag horse was actually blocking his view of what was even going on in the run, so he didn't have a good angle.
So the second judge is the goal with two judges in the team roping is to get just two eyes on the same shot, and he was kind of where the header box or header lane would be at Pendleton, but almost in the same spot as where the barrier judges are going to be at. Is that where he was at?
Yeah, he was technically close to the line judge, but he was maybe even in between the line judge and the flagger. So when the run happened, as the steer stepped left, header turned in, the flagger blocked his view almost completely.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so man, what's hard about this, I think, is it's one thing to get flagged out for crossfire as the run happens, because it's the same thing. You got a bad head catch, something goes wrong, and you cannot. It's not a legal run. It happens right then. And so I think where the big where everyone got upset was they didn't really even tell you guys, and then it's 4 runs afterwards you find out you're flagged out for crossfire, right? Is that that was a lot of it too, right? And then obviously it wasn't the right call, but
yes, yeah, it was definitely after the fact. At least 3 or 4 runs.
So with having the second judge, does he get to overrule? I mean, in this situation, he basically overruled the flagger, right? And so is that the purpose of him, or is he to kind of almost give a second opinion to the flagger and not be...
He's supposed to give a second opinion to the flagger, and then they're supposed to both agree. And the flagger technically just went back on what he said. Whenever the second opinion was given, he just decided that, oh, well, I guess I thought it was too. And so I'll flag him out.
It kind of seems like he took the easy way out a little bit. That sounds good to me. Let's just roll with it.
Definitely, yeah, he definitely agreed with the second opinion pretty fast.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times too, when guys get flagged out for crossfire, at least from my experience, I've never personally been flagged out for crossfire, Wesley, just so you know. I think I've heeled at 3 PRCA rodeos. Not one time have I even been close to getting flagged out for crossfire.
I saw one of them.
Yeah, at least the third jump. I'm making sure they're legal for a few hops.
There you go.
But no, man, something kind of awkward, right? When it's the steer slipping, or you also see horses maybe not all the way around the turn, and they're kind of throwing, the heelers are kind of pulling a shot off. Those get flagged out, and it's sometimes how it's presented is maybe not. It something funky happens, and then the flagger, I think they kind of see it, and they're like, oh. And I know it even happens at jackpots too. You'll see guys that'll they'll kind of be in a normal deal, and then one guy will just fire it really fast, and that hadn't been happening, especially in not quite the opens, but the probably the 13s down, and you see a guy take one really fast, and you're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that, and then they might get a bad call, or it's a tougher call because it's not expected, and I think that's where you really catch judges off, kind of off guard, really.
So Wesley,
yes, and my argument to the judges have been.
You're good. Go ahead. Sorry,
I didn't know if y'all froze or if. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, you're good. Go right ahead.
Okay. No, I was just saying my argument to the judges have been that, as team roping's progressed, the headers have gotten so good with the rope that they can handle the steers, so much better. There's not as much of a switch anymore. I mean, they roll them, that's the way you can be the fastest. And sometimes if the steers roll, like the fresh Mexicans or something will roll, and then they'll swing their hips afterwards. And I don't think they've really figured out how to judge that accordingly.
Yeah, I agree completely. But like, especially
it's in the headers that just progressed.
Right. And in that instance, like at Pendleton, the run happens so much slower in the corner anyway, because your header can't just throw and duck out, or else you're going to wipe out. So a lot of times at Pendleton, you see a lot of corners that take a long time. The steer goes down the arena several jumps, and like they almost never really have a definitive corner, because just the way the run has to set up on the grass, and like it's a different run at Pendleton than it is anywhere else. I mean, do you agree with that a little bit or no?
Yeah, you definitely have to, you definitely see the headers, picking their horse up more than anywhere else too. I mean, they're, like you said, they're not gonna duck or they're gonna fall down. So it's they round them out, so much. They round the corner out. So there's not a switch per se. So it's more of a roll. So the heelers are, they're just rolling pretty soft around the turn. The heeler can tee off on them.
Yeah.
So it's I think it just hasn't been learned how to judge that.
And it almost feels like it's easier to throw. It's almost safer in a way to throw right there when the steer is going slow, because you're not really making the turn yet at Pendleton. Like, it's so hard to not throw fast there because of if your header does set him up and roll him, it's like, okay, well, you're already kind of puckered up anyway because you're on grass and you're not trying to wipe out, And so it's so hard to hold on to the rope. Yeah. Like, it's just a totally different run than anywhere else you see.
No, I definitely agree with that. And, it's pretty important to haze and hold the steer up so that you're already kind of up there. And then if you don't throw, your horse is going to have to accelerate through the turn. And it's not a lot of footing there. So it's like you are in a spot to where it's probably the easiest place to put it down without having to go through a lot of reaction after the fact.
Yeah. And not put yourself put yourself at the least amount of risk possible, really.
Yeah. And that's what kind of sucks is there's a controversial call over there all the time. Like, it was Max Cutler and Brett Newman a few years ago to win a day money, I believe, it was a good run. And no one really thinks it's Crossfire. And I think this is kind of the biggest challenge of this is how the communication goes, what the judges are looking for. And I think the key is kind of the dialogue needs to be there. But what kind of bothers me about the whole thing is they're not using cameras to go back and look at runs. It's like, hey, what did you see? And then how angles really do change a lot of this. But, Wesley, we can't just talk about all your controversial, is it Crossfire, is it not Crossfire stuff? You got a lot of stuff going on, man. And like one thing that I thought was really cool this year, you did the NFR, but you also had a booth for Equine Exchange. So tell me a little bit about Equine Exchange, but what was that also like trying to compete at the biggest rodeo of the year? Obviously you're trying to rope for a world title, and then you've got this new business that you're starting up and you got that rolling.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, I was tired by the end of the week for sure, but I've kind of, starting it. I started, we've been working on a couple of years, but we launched in the fall, and so it's like I try to prioritize my day the best I can to where whatever I'm doing at the time, I can focus on what I'm doing, and I try to, put all 100% into whatever it is at that time. So I really tried to prepare myself before the finals, practicing at home to really focus to where, whenever it was time to warm my horse up, time to swing my rope, time to get ready for the rodeo, I was focused 100%. And then even after, whether I was watching my videos or my run or studying what my game plan was, I really tried to focus and stay, 100% on whatever I was doing that way. But then whenever I woke up in the mornings, it was, I ate breakfast with the family, and then I went to the booth, and I tried to give 100% of my effort into, Equine Exchange and the booth and talking to people and networking that as well. So, the main thing was I just tried to, give it 100%, whatever I was doing at that time. And then, not try to go halfway one or the other. So I just tried to focus my attention the best I could to each one.
You got some hustle and try too. I really do appreciate that about you, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to see.
For sure.
Obviously from your first NFR till now, what's been the biggest improvement you think you've made in your like that's helped your roping out?
Learning how to evaluate, like self-evaluate everything, was probably be the biggest key factor for me. Knowing, like, being able to evaluate what went wrong, whether it's horse, steer, swing, angle, how I practiced that week, why I didn't do well. And it's like, I feel so much more at peace now with my roping, after I get, jackpot, rodeo. I can evaluate it first instead of get upset, or mad. And it just seems like the roller coaster isn't near as high or low anymore. It's just a lot easier for me to stay focused on what I'm working on or working towards, because learn how to evaluate it and on what part of the plan didn't work versus experimenting or straying away from a game plan or so on and so forth. So it's that's probably the most beneficial thing for me over my career.
Right. And do you think that's what like makes a winner, the ability to self-evaluate and how they prepare themselves for competition? Because you've won essentially
every level.
But I think, you probably got them at a few junior rodeos when you're first, a younger
Yeah.
you to, you just seem to, every time you take the next step, you'd have big wins and you've been able to compete without really huge setbacks that take years of time to figure it out.
Yeah, I think at every, being able to evaluate yourself at every step that you're at is super important, because that's how you learn. That's really how you learn and make progress. And, it's easier to get out of the slumps that way. And for me, that's just something I've tried to do since I was young, is be able to understand why it worked or why it didn't. So for me, it's a big part of my routine, and what I do is understanding, why things are going good when they are, and understanding why they're going bad when they are. And there's a fine line of self-confidence, and then being being positive, and then also being real with yourself. So it's like I try to balance that, as take the positives of everything that's going on, but then there are times where you have to be, look yourself in the mirror and be real too. You can't be it's got to be, you got to be real with yourself at the same time. But you also just have, for me, I just have to take the positive out of the situation, but then be able to evaluate what's going good or bad.
Like, speaking of winning, 2019, you won the world title and you won the average out there. What's it been like? What's your life been like since winning that world championship? And is there any more pressure now that you feel on yourself, or that you put on yourself, since you are world champion now, or is that just kind of in the past and we're looking at the future now?
I went through a slump pretty shortly after winning the world title. Not necessarily with my roping, but just I did try to put too much pressure on myself, and I tried to hold myself to a certain standard and certain things, and didn't accept anything other than roping my best and so on and so forth. And I felt like it really held me back, because I was always trying to compare to something. I was trying to compare myself to a different time. And it's like, for me, I had to start thinking about what my goals were in the long run, and start looking ahead, looking in the future, and take a step back, really. And after that, it kind of gave me a lot more peace of mind. But since winning the world, it gave me a sense of accomplishment, to where I didn't feel like I had as much to prove. But then it also motivated me to get further down the road of what I did want to accomplish. So short term, right after, I definitely did put too much pressure on myself. Then I had to realize and look at it as, hey, I'm in it for the long haul, and it's a long long road. I just can't function that way, and feel like I can, reach my full potential thinking like that.
It's just it's maybe not a healthy way of being. But would you agree with that a little bit? Like just putting that much weight of the world on your shoulders after winning a world title. I mean, it's not sustainable, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and
no, it's a mind game every day. If you put that much pressure on yourself, it doesn't allow you to really focus on growth. Really, for me, it seemed like it just held me back on what I was wanting to accomplish more than it did, get the results that I was chasing.
Right. And how old were you when you won the gold buckle that year in 2019?
I'd have been 23.
23
I guess.
And a world champion.
23.
That's extremely young. I mean, and there's probably a lot of maturity that happens after that. Is that kind of what your experience is like too? That's just based off your answers, what you've kind of said. There's been a lot of growing up that, and not that you've never been immature. That's not at all, but there's just a lot of stuff that happens that, makes you grow up in a hurry after that experience.
Yes, I mean, for me, it was it was in a sense of achievement, but then it did make me want to. I guess it made me want to cut short my long-term goal. Like my goals that I was chasing. It made me think, oh, I'm ahead. Like I'm ahead of what I'm trying to do, and then it started spinning my wheels, and I wasn't checking certain things at certain times that I needed to do. So it made me think too far ahead, and therefore that's why it held me back. So I think in reality, I had to slow down after that and think, hey, this is a long road, and I'm not quitting in 2 years or 5 years. So it's I've got to stay the course, just like my plan originally, and not get too far ahead of myself.
Yeah. So when you talk about that, staying the plan and the course, I think there's a lot of times where you see guys that when they do win, they kind of take it for granted, and they don't appreciate how hard it is to actually get something like that. Is that something that you think, how do you handle the losing? Like when you don't reach a goal or something, like what does your mentality, how do you shift towards that? Like on a big goal, for example, like this year you guys had a nice NFR, but obviously you're roping for world titles. So how do you look at it going into the next year? Is that something you, in that self-evaluation process, what are some of the moves you try to make personally?
So like when I look at it, as if I feel like I put 100% of my effort into something and prepared for it and felt confident in the process that I took and was focused, and it didn't go as good as expected, but it went okay, I'm not upset at myself. But if I feel like I cut some corners or didn't put all the effort I wanted into something and didn't get the results, then I evaluate it as, I didn't put the time and effort needed, and that's where I'm going to put more time into the next time around. And I felt like this year for me, I mean, it was hard to get good quality, Mexicans to practice on like normal, and I've always done that. And I kind of cut corners, and I had, not saying we didn't have good practice steers, but they weren't the same. And so next time, I just feel like that's something I wouldn't try to cut that corner. I mean, I'm gonna, you buy 50 steers, and that's just what you do, and you trial and error. And if you, it's never felt like if our run was great at home, leaving home, it went good out there. If our run was average at home or below average at home, it went that way out there. And it's like, the pressure isn't as much of a thing. We don't really get caught up in the pressure. It's how you prepare, for me, and I think even as a team. So I think that's where we didn't do well enough this year preparing before we went out there. We didn't make as many full contact runs, and I think that was, I think that was what made a difference.
When you want to talk about
us.
like team roping for a living and being a guy like, well, hey, I always want to make the NFR. Well, yeah, we make the NFR by half a load of steers, half a semi-load of steers that are costing $750 a piece, just so you can get the right kind of practice. Like it takes some commitment to do it, and like we were able to, we videoed you guys' practice a lot, and I think the biggest difference is natives will rope the same as M brand steers, but they change really fast. Native cattle do, where M brands, how they hit and open up and heel is a little truer, but they don't get as tired, and they're just a different steer. But from run to run, they stay more consistent too, and so that's why they, and they're hard to get, and it makes it pretty expensive. But
sure.
Hey man, what about that sweet blue cap right there? Is that did you mean to get that RPX hat matching the blue shirt today? Was that
RPX is the title sponsor of today's show. He knew that.
Yeah, that's right. I've been sporting this cap for a couple weeks now, so I figured that is kind of my go-to in the mornings here lately. So I figured since I was going to be on the show, I'd just keep it going.
Yeah. Shout out to RPX supplementing the American cowboy.
That's right. And Wesley Thorp.
Yeah, and shading their head a little bit too with a nice little ball cap.
Yeah. Talk to a little bit about RPX, Wesley. What they've been a great sponsor of yours for a couple of years now. What's your experience been like with them?
Yes, I have. I've built a great relationship with Rob and their RPX over the last couple of years and gotten to know them really well. And it's been a great fit for me with all I have going, especially with just like Pace said, earlier, we're going to the booth every day for 10 days, be able to have, the energy I need to get through the day. It's definitely the zing's the first part of my day. So it's super beneficial for long trips and early mornings, long days. It's just kind of a part of my routine.
Nice. Man, last question before we let you go. Obviously, you placed at the Clay Logan Open last weekend, right? With Jake Orman. You guys win 5th. Is that what you won?
Yes, won 5th.
Okay, so with these ropings like that open where you get to pick one, draw one, and then you can pick an additional partner, how important is it from going from like that stage of trying to get to where you're an NFR qualifier and like one of the guys, like that top tier of guys that are, where you're kind of been able to be at these last few years as far as winning goes, being able to draw, how does that influence it? And then also, from when you first were able to get in some of those jackpots, do you remember what that was like to now, like whenever you're to be an NFR guy, like you have, and then to get a partner like Jake and those guys get chances to rope with you, and how it's able to get some kind of new blood in there?
Yeah, I think the draw is a good fit, especially for, just like you said, like used to whenever I was starting to go to the opener opens, like maybe I couldn't get the top tier guys, but it allowed me to enter with somebody that I had a good chance with, and then I could draw at the top level guys. And I think that makes it a good fit for, get some more teams, extra teams. Guys will go put their money up to have a chance at that. As far as on the drawing side, like I got pretty lucky this year because, I get to watch Jake at the rodeos and jackpots, and so I've seen him rope a lot, and he does a really good job. He's gotten where he jackpots really well. He's done well at the rodeos the last couple of years, and the jackpot's getting pretty good too. So definitely gave us a chance to be able to do well that day. But I think it's a good fit for the open ropings, just to be able to have a chance to rope with guys that you might not get to. Someone that has a 9-to-5 job or can't go as much as they want, but still ropes good and competes. They can go enter with someone they have a chance with, but then have a shot to draw one of the top guys. So I think it makes for interesting watching and a good fit to be able to bring value and get a few more teams.
Yeah, and Wesley, you were over there riding your sorrel horse. Talk a little bit about that horse, and then then you were up at San Antonio that night too, if I don't remember correctly. But you had your sorrel at the jackpot, and then rode your black horse at the San Antonio at the rodeo. What? Just talk about your horsepower a little bit and how important that is for you.
You know, that the Charlotte horse I got last spring, and I rode him a lot. I rode him a lot all summer, and he kind of took over my black spot for a lot of places. But then now I've gotten to where I kind of bounce back and forth at the indoor rodeos. I've been riding the black and Charlotte, a lot of the big jackpots and outside and stuff. But it makes a huge difference just being able to have the confidence in one that's know what they're going to do every time and be able to keep up with the run. Because I mean, these open pace, and you got to make really good runs on the good steers, and then you got to make good runs on bad steers throughout the day. So it's the horsepower, having something that's got all the ability. I mean, it makes all the difference in the world, really, for as tough as the quality of opens are nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Pace, anything else you want to add to him?
Wesley, you've answered it all. I really appreciate you coming on. Once again, your Equine Exchange app, I encourage people to check that out. What you've been able to do with your roping, your business, obviously you're available for lessons. So, that you're one of the guys that's really stepped up well, but you've hustled, and it's been unique to see because, man, you started out and you just started out first NFR on a roan horse that was probably barely good enough, and he did a lot for you to where you're at now.
That's
and
right.
It's been cool to watch, man. I'm proud of you, and it's pretty been pretty special, really. So thanks again for coming on, man.
You bet. Thank you guys for having me. I enjoyed it. Appreciate it.
You bet, Wesley. Be careful this year, and good luck, and wish you the best.
Yeah, don't be getting on any talk shows and driving while you're FaceTiming. That's dangerous. We'll have to hire you. We'll have to hire you a driver next time.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, you might have been driving while doing this, but we're not 100% sure. So
circle in the parking lot.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks again.
You bet. Thank you, guys.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
All right, well, we're going to get to a short break. This RPX episode, obviously Wesley Thorp, and to have him come on, it's pretty cool to be able to see what he's doing. So
yeah, for sure, go check them out. RPX, they've been a big sponsor of our show, and we like to help out people that help us out and promote them as well. So check them out.
Perfect. We'll be right back. RPX Enterprises, specializing in supplementing the American cowboy. Everything from energy to joint pain to general health and wellness. All right, I know this is an easy company for us to get behind, Dustin, because you've told me a little bit about taking some of the supplements to help out your shoulder. So what was your experience like with RPX?
It was great. I took RPX when I started to have shoulder problems again, and I literally changed nothing with diet, exercise, anything like that. I just took the products, and it really helped my shoulder. I went from not being able to rope very many steers to I could practice all day long and have very little to no pain in my shoulder at all. And I know a lot of ropers have shoulder pain is a pretty common problem for a lot of ropers. So it'd be cool to go check them out and see what they're all about.
Yeah, that's myxyngular.com for more information and to order your products. That's myxyngular.com, myxyngular.com. We really do appreciate working with these companies, and if you support them, that helps us keep growing and keep doing what we want to do with this. All right, well, we're back from break. This is obviously the RPX show, presented to you by RPX show from the XFTR show. Is that the correct way we'd put this all down?
We can roll with it.
Yeah, I like it. All right, well, this guest is going to be a two-time NFR qualifier, average champion, American champion, and he's also been flagged out for Crossfire a couple of times, which, by the way, I still have not. We had Wesley Thorp on a little bit earlier. I let Wesley and all the healers know I have 0 times been flagged out for Crossfire my entire life. So, Peyton, welcome on the show, man. I know I like to talk a little bit of trash, but appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Every heel head and every header can heal, so I like it.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure like Pace and Eric Rogers, those two guys, I think we should do a whole podcast where we just talk about healing. I think that would be a pretty interesting one.
Floating it.
About how to float 101.
Well, no, it's the difference between the float and the hanger. Float, you guys, floats for amateurs, hangers for professionals.
Yeah.
You know, that's
high level stuff.
You got to know the difference. Well, Peyton, all right. So this is kind of the first thing we wanted to do. You know, you had a couple shots that one from the NFR that got flagged out for Crossfire, and then also San Antonio the other day. And so what we kind of wanted to do, I know we kind of pulled up the rule book. So we wanted to talk about the actual PRCA Crossfire rule as it reads. So Dustin, you got that kind of handy?
Yeah, let's look at it real quick. Okay, so in the rule book it reads Crossfire definition, page 225, R10.8.3. Throwing heel loop. The direction of the steer's body must be changed before the heel loop can be thrown. However, if the steer stops, it must be only moving forward for the heel loop to be legal. Any heel loop thrown before the completion of the initial switch will be considered a crossfire, and a no time will be recorded. Throw definition is propel something with force through the air by a movement of the hand and the arm.
So those are the kind of the two things that I wanted to point out with this, right? Was the definition of the Crossfire rule, which is a direction change. And the important word I think in there is throw.
Yep.
So to me, you're throwing your rope as soon as it leaves your hand. That is when it has been thrown, right? Like that is when I would say the transition is that kind of, would everyone agree upon those things right there?
I would agree so. I mean,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it depends on which judge you ask too, but yeah.
Well, I think the other thing too is what is change in direction. Right. So I don't really know that. I think that's the definition that gets loosely interpreted. So we have like throw, like when you release your rope, like that's pretty obvious. But the change in direction, and I think that's kind of the thing that is going to be the big deal. So, anyways, Peyton, I kind of wanted, before we really got going on some of this stuff, I wanted to kind of have those couple things out there for everyone to kind of understand. So kind of my first question for you, man, is as a healer, when you're presenting these shots and you're trying to heal as fast as possible and these steers open up, what makes the presentation to the flagger poor sometimes, and what makes it really good sometimes? In the sense, poor meaning you get flagged out for crossfire, maybe it wasn't a crossfire that does get flagged out, and then also sometimes guys do crossfire and they don't get flagged out, and I think that's how they present the shot, right?
100%. You know, I think there's a couple key factors. One, I want to say it's I think on your positioning down the arena. And, you know, sometimes you can crossfire and make it look good, and then sometimes you cannot crossfire and just be on the inside where the flagger can't really see you, and it just makes it in their eyes, or how the steer switches, whatever. That's the other thing too, is how the steer hits. Because not every steer is going to hit the same. You know, some steers hit slow and they hang, some hit fast and they come out of it, and some they hit hard where it might be a little exaggerated. And honestly too, a lot of it, like usually I preach, it's kind of funny. Usually I preach about, like, did a lot of videos with you guys about upper body, squaring your shoulders to the target and being ready to throw, to where whenever the steer gets legal, only you have to do is, like the rule book says, throw. So when they're legal, only you have to do is just throw your rope out of your hand because you're already ready to throw. Well, in the case of this, you know, if your body's not in position, you have to open your swing up, open your shoulders up, change your swing to deliver to be able to throw fast. I think that's a really big tell too, because the guys that open their swing up, make a big exaggerated delivery, I think that's really like a big, you know, that'll really tell on the guy.
Yeah, it creates, when you have that, like you telegraph it a little bit, it creates it to where there might be more separation, or like it's just a little, like it's not a normal looking rodeo shot. Like it's a little bit different on how the heel rope from the time they kind of start into that delivery to when they're heeling them, the setup is just different from a real good first hop shot, right? So it kind of already looks a little bit different. And so if it's something where a flagger might be looking for it, they could already start assuming that could be the tipping point, I guess would be a better way to phrase that, right, for a crossfire.
100%.
All right, so this is kind of cool. What we decided to do, we've been doing two different things. One is the XFR show, and this is it. This is the show.
You're watching it right now.
Peyton, you're in it.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Live.
Allegedly live.
Allegedly
Maybe
live.
one of these times we'll be comfortable live, but you've seen why we're not going live with the 28 links we had to send you to get you connected on here, but no. And so the other part of it is the rundown, and that's where we actually get into instructional videos, and we dive into practice runs to competition runs. So this is what I thought we'd kind of incorporate it. We're going to go through these first few runs right here. So if we'll pull those up on the screen, we could watch your videos your video from the NFR, and then also from San Antonio. So we're able to do that, and both of these shots. This is round 8, correct? From the NFR.
9.
Round 9?
Yes, sir.
Round 9 from the NFR, sorry. And that one was flagged out for Crossfire, as well as this one from San Antonio. So what we wanted to talk about with these, I thought we'd kind of go from this first shot at the NFR right here. So if Peyton, take me through this run. What steer is this? And kind of give me the situation, and then what kind of went into break this shot down for me.
Well, this Coleman Proctor and Logan Mellon had previously run this steer, and I think Logan roped great all week, but I think this is one of the steers he had a little tough luck on. But this steer, when Logan run him, wanted to be just a hair left, but when Logan got around him, the steer kind of hit his rear end, and Logan got a little by him, and he kind of lost sight of him. And when you lose sight of one going that fast, it's pretty hard to make up for it. So, but Logan ended up having bad luck and missing him. But so I watched the video on him, and I'm thinking, all right, so how he hits, he's kind of real exaggerating the hind end because he wanted to hit out, and then he kind of wanted to come back in. So I told myself, I'm just like, you're going to have to be good and aggressive, and he's a good speed, but I don't want to get caught getting by on this steer because how he hits, he could really swing his rear end the other way and make it for almost, a right leg or a no time. So, and then in that arena too, I was pretty green going into it. I've never really roped the NFR at Thomas and Mack, but going into it, man, it happened so fast. And don't matter, the hardest thing about that arena for me was no matter where the steers were, where you were, you have to throw. There's no second guessing. You can't go to the second hop. You can't go to the third. You have to get ready down the arena, and whenever you see it, you got to take it. And so that was another thing. So basically, the mindset doesn't really change. I just told myself to make sure I got in a good spot, stayed on the left hip, and really made sure I was in a good spot to where when he opened up, I could have somewhere to throw my rope, and I wanted to really see the steer through pole for me.
Okay, so in your mind right here, we're going to go to the point where this head rope comes on, and you can kind of see the steer starts to lower his head, and almost like you're talking, kind of want to get funky to where that roll is hard to ride. Like you can almost see it where, you could get by, or that steer kind of hiding his butt. So take me through what you see and right here from the time this head rope's going on, and then and then take me. Do you think this shot is legal, or where do you think this first hop is on this steer?
Well, I'll be the first to tell you, this was a tough call. And, there's people got their own opinions. That's one thing with the Crossfire. It's not like there's a black and white line. You can't really, some people are going to sound, it's going to look legal. Some people it's not. And I think at the time you watch it, your first instinct can go either way. I mean, it's different angles. It looks better, different angles. It looks worse. But to me, the straight on view is the view that the PRC does not have. And that's the hardest call to make to me, because where the judge is at, he cannot see the steer, or he can barely see when I'm throwing it because he's dead in behind me. So, but on this steer, I think it's more so how the steer hits. And this steer, he followed and hit there, right here. He hit right there, and then I'm bringing it on the next jump. And for me, the reason why I personally think it's not a crossfire is because right there, my rope just left the hand, and to me, the steer is going straight across the arena, pulled by Eric. And right there, how he opened up, if I would have healed him the jump before, I think it could have been a crossfire. But I think how the steer hit so funky and how he hit hard, the next jump when he opened up, I mean, it was instantly when he was legal. The rope, I had rope on the ground, and he hopped, and he kind of hit wild, and he halfway swung into it, but I halfway had rope on both sides, already waiting on him. And my horse is stopping square. The runs still happened good. Finish is clean, and the line on the steer's back and my horse, I mean, right there, they're dead and behind each other. And then how he kind of swung because he wanted to hide his butt, and Rogers got a hold of him with a short rope, and made him really pull. But I mean, from that angle, it looks like it's pretty clean. Yeah, you call it either way, but from behind, I'm not sure what he could see right there, but it could be pretty questionable.
So what I see is, at this point, it's so hard when you break it down, right? But when he's still like coming over himself, right? A little bit because of that angle, the header has to come up the arena so much, where that steer checked down,
right? That
just slowed up all of the momentum. So taking the steer's head away from him already is going to be harder. Like it slows it down. So like that's kind of what I see from the header's perspective. And then it's a big hit. You see how his like right leg and everything kind of comes out because that's you just having to come back on him so hard.
Yeah, the steer hit twice, honestly, if you want to watch it. Like, he kind of hit and then he hit again.
And I think that's what cost you getting called out here, is the steer hit twice in the turn. Where if he hits and opens up and comes out of it when you're throwing, it's not a crossfire.
Yeah.
But right there, he hit and then hit again, swinging into your loop. And it made it look worse than what it probably was. Like, once you do slow it down in slow motion, I see the points that you're making, But I think right here, this is the steer hitting the first time right here with his legs on the ground. And then you're bringing it's still in your hand here. But if you go forward to the next frame, a little bit more. Okay, now your loop's on the ground. The steer's feet are still on the ground. But then this next hop, I think, is what cost you right there. The steer, his hips come this way. Another, that probably not even that far, like maybe 1 to 2 feet. Peyton, you were there. You had the best seat in the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
no, for sure. How he hit it. It made it really exaggerated on the run right there. 100%.
Right. But like you talked about earlier, you take another swing, Rogers is over here in the wall already.
That's what I was gonna.
So like you go one more swing, you're forfeiting all day money efforts at that point, and you're in round 9, correct? So, and you're trying to win a gold buckle.
Yes, sir.
You need to place in the round. That was the situation you were in. And
you watched too, and I didn't really get to I've never really seen it before, but the hop before I healed him, the hop before wasn't no good, and the hop after when I threw it wasn't no good either. Like, it's honestly amazing I even roped him, because like from there to there, like look how his hops just change, everything just opens up, and then he just like crosses over.
Right. So to me, if you'll back it up a little bit, this is what I see as the problem. So if you pause it right now, the flagger, he's here. He's just now riding forward. He was about right there where the small circle's at. Now, if you'll go forward right now, look at his eyesight. His eyesight is coming right here. And I'm not going to say he can or cannot see the steer's feet, but it's close. And I think we would all probably agree with that. I mean, this is his vision sight right here. So this is what causes this whole deal. He needs to be right here. Then he's got this angle to see and look, this clear path to the cow. But when you don't get in that spot, it's hard to see. And you can't make a call
And it
on
happens
something you
so
can't
fast, you
see.
can't.
You know what I mean? And it happens in 3.9 seconds from the
Yeah.
time the neck rope pops to the time it's over. So that is my whole issue with the whole deal. Crossfire or not, it's a judgment call at the end of the day, and it's never going to be 100% right or wrong, I don't think. But I think there's
No.
two things. One, there has to be a line drawn in the sand, and all we're asking for as contestants is consistency with that call. And
Right.
I think if it's consistent, you have less problems. You have less conversations like these because of it.
These shots are hard, man. This is really hard stuff. So what I thought was, well, we did an X Factor video shoot of the NFR practice session. Let's talk about when steers are legal. So we've got our slow motion cameras, and we could actually get like, hey, when does this steer? When is he legal? And we, could offer that up. So this is a run right here. As it comes back in slow motion, guys, let's tell me when you think this steer is legal, and I will get it right here where his head. Eric starts to get the steer's head, and you guys just kind of tell me each. Paden, I'd like to start with you. You tell me when you think this one is legal, and then we'll kind of go into it as of why.
Perfect. I think this jump right. I'm going to say the one I actually roping on right there. That was when it was legal.
Okay. Dustin, you agree that's first hop shot?
I would agree. Yeah, I agree completely.
Will you take me through why? Like, is it because what the hips are doing?
Yeah, so I think I'll give my thoughts, and Peyton, you can tell me what you think. But right here, the steer is going down the arena, and then he squares right there. That's the first time his feet have come off the ground, where now the steer is being pulled across the arena. And that's why I think that is the first legal hop for that steer.
Peyton, what do you watch for?
Yeah.
Like, is that what when you're looking for this shot, what are you looking for there? And, to clear and where it presents it as a legal heel shot to you?
Well, like same thing that Dustin said, your job is to get in position down the arena with your body and your horse to set yourself up to when you feel that the jump is legal and you feel the run come together, throw whenever you want to. And that's a good example of it right there. That steer was a really good steer. He rounded off, and tell you what, too, kind of going back is I'm lucky enough to throw with Eric for the last 3 years now, going on 4, and I got a really good feel for what Eric does in a run, and he's got a feel for where I'm at in the arena. And our chemistry, I feel I have really a lot of confidence in it, because Eric can feel me sometimes, maybe be far away and then hold one up like in a jackpot or something. Or he's just got such a freakish talent of knowing when to pull one and open one up, where it makes me look really good. And, him having such good control, like I know, like right there, I'm in a good spot. And then you set yourself up, honestly, like before it even happens, to where it's like, okay, all right, next hop, you got it. And then when he opens up, you almost slow it down in your head, and then you can just count the steps out as you go, and then that's where you have a nice finish and everything just really flows. But a lot of confidence in your header of knowing where to be at is crucial. And honestly, that's why this one was so controversial, because I'll be honest with you, I didn't throw where he was. I threw where he was going, because I knew exactly when that steer checked off, I knew where in the spot I was in, I knew exactly where he was going. And that obviously, in a way, that didn't help at all on my odds right there on getting flagged out, because I knew exactly where the steer was going to be at.
Yeah, I would even call it like a head with your rope. Like you're getting your rope down as he's getting ready to come out of the ground. And then where that like the tough pull up the wall at this setup, it kind of makes it to where, we've talked about this in quite a few of like the rundowns, but the more you like stop going down the arena as a header, like if you're putting pressure on the horn and take the steer off and you don't step up and out, you can't pick up their head and then their shoulders and round them off and open them up for a turn, where this, like where he does step a little bit left, checks off, so you don't have momentum. It's going to add that like kind of that steer kind of stopping motion, and that keeps sending the hips down the arena. And really, it makes for a harder heel shot. It's not like this is an easier heel shot than Crossfire.
Yeah, it's an amazing heel shot.
Like, I think what Crossfire was originally designed to do was to get that one as they're like swinging into your heel rope, like kind of still going down the arena,
Right.
in the sense of like if it were to be like right here, you could start throwing, right when you get that head, and and that's what they tried to take out with that. So where like this shot, you could see it right here, like as your rope's starting to make contact, his feet are coming off the ground more, like, you know what I mean? Like he's out of it. And that's probably the difference really with the timing portion of that too, right? Like one, you could see like you got a lot of chemistry, like we're talking, and I think that's where that shows through right there.
Right. And like you said though, too, look at the difference in the steers. It's relatively close to the same spot, but not every steer is going to hit the same. When that high, header gets on that fast, you're going that fast. And them steers, the timing of when they get legal is never going to be the same in any type of count. That's why that's why you can't ever put a line, because maybe they might be legal on a good steer. Yeah, that's first thought, but on another steer, no, that's borderline. You got to wait one more swing just because of how they. It's never. That's where it's always kind of up in the air. People make decisions about it.
Right. Well, man, I always like to kind of dive into the mental aspect in the situation. Take me through the mindset of that 9th round shot at the NFR. Obviously, this is back-to-back years where you're roping for a world title. What is your focus? Because I know that it didn't go the way you wanted, right? Like this, as we're obviously talking about it and showing it. But I think from the mental standpoint and the execution, it looks like it was really clean. And so this is kind of a weird situation where it's like, I want to know how you look at it once this run's finished. And then also like going up into it, like what were you kind of thinking going into that run, and mentally trying to do there to handle that moment?
Well, honestly, so the first week started off great, and then I hit a rough patch. Was a little green, a little unfamiliar with that yellow building. I felt like I wasn't getting down the arena far enough. Then I made a horse change, and I can't fault him at all. He was amazing over there. That's what we talked about it. I thought about starting off on him. I probably should have, but it's kind of hard to ride. Your 5-year-old over your number one for the last how many years. But it's hard to start from the 5-year-old for all 10 rounds. And so at that point, everything was going really smooth, man. At that point, we placed him along, going short 4 every time. And then we were kind of in position where I think we're like 3rd in the average. And honestly, we kind of started clicking. And honestly, I started just having fun. I kind of quit thinking about everything. I've healed for 23 years, and I've done it every day. And I kind of talked to myself and talked to my buddies. And you know what? I'm just start having fun. As soon as I kind of said that, I started just catching and healing good again. And everything was just like clockwork, like I remembered. And then after round 9, like you said, tough shot, tough call. Everything felt great. And because I didn't have much of a chance. Junior had such a good year, and he roped so good at the finals, and obviously he earned it. But he was a little too far ahead of me. But I was really upset because Eric, he roped amazing. He did his job, and I feel like I let him down because that costed him a big chance. If we were in a team, great, but I want the best for him, and he had a shot at it, and that really shot our chances down after that, because that we'd have tied him in the round. That was for 20,000, and we were ahead of him a spot in the average. And so it would have been a one-header on the round 10, and who knows the scenarios? You can run 100 times, you can go 100 different ways, but I was pretty upset with myself, and it's just adversity, and like you said, the finals in different ways, but I was upset for a little while because I just felt like I costed him a chance for another gold bar.
Well, and I think
he was the best header there, I thought.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like this conversation isn't about, like, you hear guys, some people you see like at the numbered opens, they'll put on Facebook, was this a Crossfire and stuff. And like people kind of complain about it, and it's a hot topic to debate.
Crossfire
or nah, yeah, exactly. And but what people don't understand is like in the situation at the NFR, like it's bigger than just one steer. Like it's if that steer, if you get the call, and which I personally I thought it was a crossfire, but if the call goes your way, Rogers, the whole round 10 changes completely because you guys go from not having a chance in round 10 to now you're right in the thick of it. And it, I don't even remember what you did in round 10, but let's just say you go and you win second in the round, and that changes the average too. And now it's like, okay, what are we talking about? Eric Rogers as a 2-time world champion now? Like it changed, like gold buckles changed lives. And I think it's bigger than just one steer in moments like the NFR. And like there was a guy that got called out a couple years ago at San Antonio, I think Jason Doobie.
Yeah, it was a pretty rough call.
Yep.
And, you win San Antonio, you win 25,000. You put 20,000 on top of his earnings, he probably makes NFR. That changes his life. You know what I mean? Like that completely changes the trajectory of his career probably. And so all these are what ifs and woulda, coulda, shouldas, but at the end of the day, it's bigger than one steer. And that's why it means this much to you and people like that we have these conversations like this. I think it's not just, lack of better term, we're not just bitching about it,
Yeah. So Peyton, I kind of I want to know, like, when you heel that steer at the 10th round or the 9th round right there, and you're dallying and pulling back on him, is that even in your mind, like that when you took that shot, it could have been crossfire or no?
Well, when he checked off, like you said, it's about momentum, and we talk about momentum a lot on the videos and like with Marty and stuff. When the momentum died, looking back, obviously, when he checked off, but like you said though, when he checked off and did his deal, I knew where I had to throw. I knew I was only getting about one shot right there, and when I healed him, I was, just in the moment. And then when he did flag me out, I was like, obviously, like, damn it, but I didn't blame the guy. I mean, I was pissed for a little bit, but I didn't go cuss the guy because that's part of it. But getting that yellow building and having to be 3 seconds, and that's the shot I had to take. And it wasn't like I could go another hop, the next hop was be better. That's what I had to do at the time, and that's what I did. And like you said, 50-50, it could have went one way, it could have went the other. It didn't go my way, and it's just kind of nothing you do. You just got to ride out of the ring and give it a grain of salt.
Yeah, well, but you got
to really shocked though. I mean, I wasn't, when I was like more like, damn it, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh, are you serious? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
right.
I always go to this Jeter quote, but it goes something like, everyone wants to hit game-winning home runs, but people are afraid to get in the batter's box and swing and strike out.
Right.
And I think that it shows with you, Peyton, because obviously the previous year you healed one to win the world title. It kind of came down to a 10th round situation, and you healed a really tough steer at Dallas. And then this year, it's the same deal. I think it's a really good shot, and so that's not the meaning of this. It's kind of like I like to like get to your outlook on it, and kind of see how a guy like takes that, and and so obviously moving forward, do you think about that, like as a healer, how to present those shots? Does it change, when you get one like that, and is that something that you kind of become more conscious of, or add that to your practice, like how you try to get? You said kind of get down the arena and kind of get squared up a little bit more, or what do you do now after that?
No, yeah. So, and like you said, we talked about a couple reasons I get flagged out is one, the presentation of it. I think if I could have got down the arena just a little bit higher on that steer, and I played a little bit of defense. Logan got by that steer and had bad luck on him. So I was like telling myself, stay in your spot. You tried to do it all week. You don't change nothing. But off, I should have went one more down. Rogers had such a short, tight rope. I got one more down. When he did that switch, I've been more around him and over the top of him, and I think it wouldn't have made it look so bad because I had to open my swing up. I didn't really float it, but I just had really good touch to my rope, and I put it down where he was. Instead of, if I could have got one more down the arena, I could have thrown it in the same exact spot, but it would have looked like cleaner.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure.
Well, unfortunately, we got another another shot that
This one's a little more fresh on the memory.
Yeah, this one's definitely a little more fresh on the memory.
Yeah.
Here's San Antonio. This one obviously gets flagged out for Crossfire too, but what's the situation over here? As far as San Antonio, you get to see it in everyone advances in sets. So like it's like money earned advances to the semifinals, and so this is your guys' third. Everyone gets to run 3 steers, and it's just they pay 4 in each round. Top 3 or 4 money earners.
4.
Top 4 make it back.
4. Yeah. And we was kind of right in the middle. You know, we placed third on our first steer. Didn't have any luck on our second steer. And this was our third round steer. And we were dang near last. And there was a couple 4-4s. But honestly, if we could have went 4-5, I think at the time, a couple 4-4s. I think there was really nothing. There was 2 4-4s and a 4-5. There was only 3 times. And then we had, and then there was one more team after us. And honestly, I wasn't even really trying to go for the round. It was more so make a good run. But that's what people at home don't really understand is when you get to the buildings, it's not like you can just catch. It's not like you can go another hop. I mean, you get squared up, take a shot. But honestly, if we could have won third or fourth and we could have made it back to the semifinals. So honestly, our set was a little softer towards the end. And like I said, there was just 2 4-4 second runs and then 4-5. They pay 4 money for one team to go. You can't just lay up and catch. But we just was going to make a really good run and see what happened. Because right before I went, Rogers asked, what is there? I said there's 2 4-4s and a 4-5. And that's all we said before we did.
I want to know like what you felt like went really good with this, because this is a completely different shot than the one we watched at the NFR as far as steer strong, might even be a touch right. So take me through this shot.
Well, I'm going to go back even farther. So I actually broke these steers in at Manny Agaski's house, and they've been to one jackpot and they're fresh. They're Bobby Joe Hills, and our set was a matching black set. Every steer was black, and the first round they ran, there was 3 teams. So to me, you got fresh Mexican steers, good quality steers. The last thing you want to do is push them left, because my first one kind of went left without even trying to. So you want to keep the run really, really straight. And with them being fresh, Eric being such a great header he's not going to do what? He's not going to duck. He's going to stay push forward and round them off and keep the momentum good. And this is where I think some guys get confused with Crossfire, like we just talked about. So to me, the steer stayed really straight, momentum matched. Eric got him on a short rope off. And when he rounded him off, I got down the arena, but then I pulled to the inside. The steer is right in front of my horse. Like, it was like shooting fish in a barrel on the steer. It just felt so easy. The run slowed down. When he left me, I got loop everywhere. I dallied with 3 coils in my hand. Like right there, that freeze frame. My horse and the steer are perfectly in line. He's not swinging. They are dead in behind each other. And the steer was right in front of my horse, right leg when I threw it away. And this is where it just felt like a great, like we could have made a better run on the steer.
Right. And that, I think you watch like from the header's perspective, because that's what I'm going to give you the most of, just because, you know, I as a healer, it's I'm probably floating it a little bit more. I'm hanging on. Yeah, I'm getting the header a little closer to that left wall. You know what I'm saying? But the difference is this steer's when he's straight and right. Look, Eric, where he can ride, and then he can pick that steer's head up right there, then the shoulder. Then he opens up the hips. Boom, yeah. That's where he hits. And I think that's where he's changed directions right there. And he's coming out of it. And you almost get him on that, like it's like a quick little like corner, you know, like it's like a rounded off corner where they're hitting really fast and they open up and switch. So it's not that hard switch. That's where it gets really easy to read. And I think that's where like you get that little I mean, he might like double hit right there a little bit, but I think that's kind of the goal when you're really like breaking steers down. You want them strides to like almost shorten up in the turn or in the corner, and then they open up as they come out of it, and that's when the direction changed. So I mean that's where I go to as a hitter. I think that's a really, really great job of opening him up, and that's kind of what I see.
Well, you look too. You want to talk about being a header? Watch Eric's left hand. Like I didn't like. Watch until we could run it back. The steer literally mimics his left hand. If you want to watch about headers, literally, as he rounds him off, you watch his left hand does exactly what Eric's left hand does. And that just showed you what a great job he did on the steer, in my opinion. So he pushed up, and then when he wanted to bring him down, he moved his hand up and around and pushed that mare out in front, and then the finish was perfect.
Yeah.
So this is what we did right here. Same thing. We got a real similar hopping steer from the X Factor video shoot with you guys, and pretty similar camera angles. So we got kind of steer steps off to the right. Eric heads him, and then as he comes around, I think it's almost the exact same heel shot. And so what I wanted to talk about right here as it hits slow motion, where do you think this steer is legal at here?
I think he's legal. The jump I heel him on right there.
Right there.
Straight across, steers open up.
And I think this is what
yeah, because before he was still kind of in a ball and he was kind of half hopping like he never opened up. And then he finally did that first jump out.
Yeah. And you might even say, like, when you watch it in slow motion right here, this steer, those hips swing right there. And that's kind of that heel shot that's a little easier to sneak in. And I would say that's what they tried to take out with that crossfire rule. But the steer does the same thing. You know, you can see the double hop in the turn like that. Like his hips swing, then it's that, like, that's the change of direction right here to me. And because his feet are kind of like getting up underneath him. And that's where kind of that double hit, and then he opens up, which I would say that's exactly what the steer did at San Antonio the other day. But
yeah,
this is the other thing.
There's only about 150 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
Maybe 250
so
pounds lighter.
Yeah, but that's the thing too, is like we talked about at the beginning, and every steer hits differently, but them steers were little and fresh. So like, of course, they're going to be hitting quick and moving through there. So like, it wasn't like he did the exaggerated deal. And obviously too, that's one of my steers, practice steers for the finals and stuff. And he's been roped a lot, but like, goes back to saying, Eric being a seasoned veteran and handling cattle so good, he's not going to hit them little steers, because if you hit a little fresh Mexican, they're just going to fold up, and then you're not going to know where to throw. So I just think he did such a good job. And honestly, we kind of got penalized because Eric did such a good job handling that steer, I think is why he kind of looked so, maybe in the flagger's eyes, but looked bad.
Right. Well, Pace, I want to go back to the San Antonio run. And Peyton, I'm going to do some drawing and try to go Kent Murphy right here and break this down from a fundamental standpoint.
From a fundamental standpoint. We're going to hit the fundamentals right here.
No, but so there's a couple of things I see here. Is one, you talked about it. Pause it right. Go back just a little bit. Sorry. Kind of right when right there. You talked about the steers are fresh. So you've got to hold back your position. Your horse's head's right here. And like, you're probably not even with the steer's tail yet, right?
No. Nope.
So you're not late and you're not really behind, but you're not up here even with the cow either.
No.
But I think these are the reasons why it looked bad. One, if we play it forward, you're behind and you're coming in hot, and pause it right here. You're crossing over maybe a tick early. Would you think so or no? Just a hair.
Oh, yeah.
Just a hair early. So where it puts you inside, and the judge should be sitting here. He's not there, just to point that out. And then when you bring it, it made the problem, it made the shot look more of like a crossfire than it actually was. If you had all this colored out and you were just looking at this right here, this was your focus, then where your horse position at, being a little bit late and a little bit inside, if you blocked all that view out and just looked at the steer and when the loop hit, I don't think it's a crossfire I don't think you can really even debate that. But from where your horse position was at, it made it look like it was because you were a little late coming in and a little bit inside. And
right.
I think when we talk about masking it and not showing it to the judge a little bit more, I think if you're up around the end of it and nail him when he's on the same jump, you get by with it all day. And it's unfortunate that your horse position makes it look bad. But I don't think at the end of the day, I don't think it was a crossfire.
We need to get a judge on.
No.
I'd like to break them down with a judge.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing too. But like a lot of the run that Eric and I have, he likes to have everything real controlled, and we'll go make runs in the summertime. But I'll be a little farther down the arena, but we'll be just as fast as everyone, just as long as everything's straight and lines up. I feel like that was kind of a prime example. Like I wasn't really in a hurry. I knew where the steer was going to be at, and I knew the run of I could really feel the flow of the run on that steer. And you talk about the inside. My horse he's a good horse. He's not the fastest thing alive, but on him, the best thing I can the reason why everything felt great, but he's not a horse I run to the end of it on. Like he's not a horse you can just get to, because he's not the fastest thing in the world, but he's so easy and lets you throw wherever you want to and let you catch. But how the run matched up and everything, yes, I agree. I could have been one more down if it was on maybe one of my other horses in my bay. But on that horse, how everything is, as long as I'm on the inside, he'll honestly kind of just keep not side passing, but the run will just kind of drift to him, and then it slows the run down for you to where you can just really see the next jump and you can really open up. But on that run, I was like, okay, steered straight. I got him dialed in. Like the jumps really felt good down the arena, and the head rope hit. That steer kind of checked off a little bit, and then I got to the inside, and when he left me, I just had loop everywhere and dialed with 3 pulls in the hand and had a tight finish. But
yeah,
I can see where the judge is not paying attention and zoning in, not really watching. I can see how it looks like he did it, but the only reason why I did that, I think, is because Eric did such a good job handling that steer where he didn't just hit him, he just rolled him to where it kept the momentum the same and the finish was good.
Well, and there's just so much more roll in the handles these days. Like we had Thorpe on earlier before you, and he was talking about how guys can reach with their whole head rope and keep their horse moving forward and roll the steer around because it's faster. You know, like you just said, you and Eric can go halfway down the arena and be just as fast as, like, let's just say T-Wade, who brings it right over the chutes and throws 3 coals. You guys' run has so much more momentum and so much more roll to it that the rule was written, in the 80s or probably? I don't know for sure, but a long time ago.
Yeah.
Roping has changed a lot since 1995. It's changed a lot since 2010, even.
Do you think Paden, like video replay? I mean, obviously, we had Wesley on earlier, and Wesley talked about a second judge is the reason why they flip-flopped the call a few times. They flagged him out for crossfire at Pendleton. Or they flagged it clean. Then the second judge called it a crossfire. So they found out a few teams later that it was crossfire. And then they changed their mind and decided it was clean again, right? They decided to not call it crossfire. Is that kind of how that one went down?
That was just because it was power of the people that day, though.
There was 150 people standing around that they wouldn't even let them run slack till they they gave them that one back.
And and that's the thing that honestly, and that's the thing that's beauty of the cowboy and the beauty of the perfs. But like in a slack though, honestly too, if I ain't so sure, and now that we've done it before, we could do it. And it's not I'm not blaming anybody, but so from where the judge is sitting, like Dustin pointed out earlier, he can't see. In my opinion, I'm gonna point out 2 things. One, where that view is right there, the straight on view that the Cowboy Channel has of this run looks worse than this. Like it is bad. Like you'd watch it, you'd be like, how in the heck? But the judge, I think there needs to be 2 degrees of one, where the normal judge is, just so he can see the horse's face, make sure everything's good. And then if there's a question at all, I think there needs to be a judge by the bucket chute on the header side to watch the run, to see how everything is, because the straight on view and then the corner view are totally different. And that's the thing, those are everything in team roping. So I just think it's a big part. I think you got to have a second opinion or an instant replay, but I don't think a judge that's sitting in the corner and the guys are going long 3, short 4. I mean, I blame him a bit. It's hard. You can't hardly see everything. But I think if there's a second opinion in the arena that sees a straight on view, them are the guys that can really see when the steers are switching, how hard they're switching, and where the guy actually does throw. Because the guys that are in the corner, they can't really see when you throw and when the steers hit because the horse and the rider block the view.
Yeah, it seems like maybe the line of sight on the steer's hips, if it's blocked at all, can kind of go away from you, like as far as the call. Have they talked about video replay ever at the pro rodeos? Have you heard much conversation on that?
No, but I wish they would at the bigger rodeos like San Antonio, Houston, Fort Worth, NFR, where the video is so good and you can slow it down and instant replay on the big screen. A referee can't make every call at a football game, especially at the Super Bowl. I just wish them judges, for their sake, they had a little bit more to go on so they can make tough calls and split-second decisions.
Yeah. Well, and it's all about just making the call right. At the end of the day, that's the name of the game, is we just want to make whatever call is right, that's what needs to be the outcome.
And I agree with that 100%. I just keep thinking, well, there are a few times, like the NFR would be a good example, because you could go after the rodeo and review a run or something, but also...
Pause it right here, Pace. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
I just think it could also go the opposite way, because there are some times where some guys get away with Crossfire and they might start getting flagged out, and you might see some real disappointed people that were hot lapping the arena at the Thomas and Mack, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, we watched that one again. That's Crossfire."
Right.
So it would be really hard lines to ride. And
what is this guy right here? Is that the judge at the back end?
Checks a head catch, I believe.
Okay, so why can't he check head catches and be the Crossfire judge?
Well, I think when we go to it, so this is why I try,
because that's the reason he's down there, is to check the head catches in case the judge misses it. For the people that don't know, that is his job. Am I right, Pace?
Yeah. There is a guy. There's a judge at the back end, and then now they got a judge that pulls a barrier to make sure them guys don't throw in the box too.
Right.
Were we going to call that the Dustin Squeezer rule? Because he's the guy that's like, hey, he got him doing that one because he could throw so fast. Which is amazing that he can. I'm not even talking trash. I'm just like, that's amazing that he could do that.
Oh, for sure.
My set at Fort Worth, I've never seen it personally, but I was on the steer's head, and then that John Henry Gaona and Trevor Now, he threw before the front part of the chute. He got flagged out, but he threw halfway in the box. I personally hadn't seen it before, but I was in my set for Worth, and I was actually on the steer's head, holding his head straight, and he threw before where I was even at the chute.
That's wild.
Which is amazing to be able to.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think the deal is, from like a flagger standpoint, to be where, like, this is kind of that same angle where we're talking. You can see when the hips clear from this shot and the momentum. Like, you could draw a line on that steer's back and he'd be coming, he's headed straight that way, right? I don't know. I keep thinking that the angles of which the roping is flagged and how it's presented is such a big thing, Peyton. And that's why I wanted to have you on, because you've had a few bad calls now, and to talk about that and to have the dialogue, which I think that's the thing, is there would be some ways to help some guys, hopefully, and maybe we could potentially add a review. I think there are some times where if you do get flagged out for Crossfire in these rodeos that just have performances that are, some of the rodeos that can make or break your whole year, I don't see where it hurts, right? Like, I don't see why this is, I don't know. I know judges want to make the right call. They're there. They don't want to be talked about.
They're not intentionally trying to screw nobody over. I don't think there is a judge out there that is intentionally going to go, oh, well, this Paden Bray, he's throwing too fast. We need to shut this down. I don't think that's ever. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's the case.
Yeah. Or we just open it up, boys, and just say, as soon as that head rope's
open
on,
season.
When that head rope's on, you fire it down there, and the crowd might be going wild when they see some stuff like that.
And no one wants that. No one wants that, because that takes away the sport and the beauty of it. Because there is real beauty, and there's a really good. It takes, like honestly, like a run like San Antonio, there's so much going on for that run to be so perfect. And I was so bummed because I made runs my whole life that were that perfect and felt that freaking awesome. Make a good run, middle of the arena. And honestly, too, like you want to go back on that run, you can look at everyone's tracks in the arena. We were one of the farthest guys down the arena on our run. Like you kind of looking at it and made that, and we were faster. Yeah, we were faster going. Honestly, we were almost halfway down the arena. But that's just when a run and true art kind of come together. And just everything works out the way you would plan. But I agree. I do think there's things that could, like you said though, no one wants to. No one's out to anybody. But like you guys said though, Harry Rose is just an example. One of the greatest flaggers of all time. Harry's been around for a while, but the game has kind of changed. And, there's a lot of flaggers. I mean, no new guys are coming in, but like you said, like Thorpe said, the game's changing, Guys are doing more with the header up. They're reaching farther. They're doing different things, And that's where I think, honestly, to my opinion, I think the rule needs to be written, but it needs to be revised. Okay, guys, this is what we're doing nowadays. It's not the old days. We don't rope old steers. We're not running behind them the big switch. We're staying wide, getting their head, picking them up, and making good runs. And I just think that's what I said too, kind of popped off the first to show. Every person and every judge is going to see a crossfire differently. I just wish there'd be some common ground where we can get, okay, this is yes, this is a no. You know what I mean? There's got to be some common ground to where everyone needs to try to be able to see it the same as close as possible, because you ask a guy in the, from the 8-point to the 10-point to the 12-point to the whatever, and then half these guys that are judging, they don't want to flag. They don't want to. There was a guy that flagged the West Star jackpot that they had at the Ellensburg Rodeo this year, and Eric asked him if he was nervous. He said that's the most nervous he's ever been in his whole life, flagging a team roping. And if them guys would flag a team roping, all them guys that are posting on heel shots and stuff, they would kind of get to see what we kind of have to go through, because they would get crucified if they go to a team open. The same guys that are flagging us out, if they go to their team open, they would get crucified for making calls, maybe not facing all the way or whatever, or on crossfire or whatever. But them guys aren't perfect because mainly the rough stock judges. And honestly, in their defense, they don't really know. They know team roping, but they're going to see it a little bit differently than a guy that lives it and breathes it every day. Just like it'd be like if any of us went to go judge the rough stock. It's just not going to happen. It's hard to find some common ground out there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I mean, I think my biggest deal is the PRCA has got to get instant replay involved in rodeo to get these calls right. And I mean, like you said, and here's my pitch. If it's a tour rodeo, it's got instant replay. And you got a timed event judge that sits in and watches instant replay, and you got a rough stock judge that sits in and watches it. And it's two guys sitting in a trailer or wherever they need to be in front of these monitors where they can see this and slow it down. And it takes 30 seconds to realize, hey, this one wasn't a crossfire right here at San Antonio, and it's not going to slow up the rodeo, and it's going to get the calls right. And at the end of the day, that's all that anybody's after, is if it's the right call, then great.
Yeah, I think to get to this, like the crossfire rule, is really when you talk about revision, the change of direction, I think, is what needs to be revised. Like, what is change of direction? And to look that up, define that, and start figuring that out. Because I think that the rule is pretty clear and easy to go by until you start, well, what is change of direction? And they talk about the hips, and everything kind of moving. Well, now healers have gotten so good at it that at the end of the swing with those hips moving, they're getting heel ropes in, and these headers are so good. They're getting that the turn where it's not like that big hit or that big switch. It's like they're breaking down and moving through it quicker. And so understanding, I think that's where what needs to go is change of direction. And honestly, I don't even know. I do not want to flag. That's
a hard job, and it's a thankless job too. We're sitting here talking about the two runs that he got flagged out on. How many runs has he probably got right at San Antonio? Yeah, since then, which I know we had a little talk earlier about the perf last night, but there's a lot of times they get the job right and we don't say anything. So it's a thankless
Right.
job, and it's a hard job, and one that
No
I don't
news.
know if I
No
would want
news
to.
is good news.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. So
Yeah. I think we also can start us a new group on Facebook. Did I face or not? You know?
Yeah.
I because I think that's a really funny thing to think about is how many people like face even in World Series ropings. Like I don't think they
It
should.
blew my mind the first time I went to Arizona, and I'm like, what? The guy, his horse didn't face, and he just dropped the flag. And they're like, yeah, you don't have to face out here. Like,
Yeah. No,
since when did we take facing? We took scoring with the World Series barrier. I'm going to get on a soapbox right here for just a second. We took scoring out of roping,
preach.
and now we're going to take facing out of roping. I could be a hitter in Arizona. I don't have to score, and I don't have to face my horse. Perfect.
You just got to go to Arizona.
I just need to be there.
I gotta agree. There's a lot of tough stuff, and also like the facing rule in the PRCA, and then how it's flagged in lower number ropings, even when they do have to face, is two different rules. I mean, it's pretty easy to watch that and know. So I think that's kind of the thing. At the end of the day, what's the hardest part about this whole deal is to be a professional team roper. The wins are just not that, they don't come around that often. And so I think all we really want is to not have them cost guys money. But there's also been times where Crossfires there's been a lot of them that have gotten away, and they've won a lot of money with Crossfires, and that affects guys too. So it's a I don't know that we could probably talk about Crossfire and how it's flagged forever, and I don't know that it'll stop being controversial, right? Because the rules can change, but guys are going to still push it to the brink. And I think that's kind of where it comes down to that. And that's why we want to have that conversation with you like this, Peyton, because that's your job as a professional healer to catch, pretty much every steer by 2 feet is the goal, and
as fast as possible. So how do you do that? And you kind of got to be able to ride that line and willing to take those shots. But, and I asked you, this is one question that I had. I asked you this earlier about at the NFR when you felt the momentum change and you're like, okay, you probably could start feeling that maybe there could be a Crossfire call, or like you kind of, you were aware that it was going to be different. On this round right here at San Antonio, did you even think that was going to be a thing that you'd get flagged out for Crossfire when you're dallying and pulling back?
No, I just thought, when when a plan comes together, like you just envision it, and you kind of put a run together. And it's like after that run, I was like, yes, like that was it. And then I don't even think twice. I just look over to make sure I got the flag, and then he flags us out, and I was just like beside myself. I was just shocked. I mean, you can't go talk to him, because if you go talk to him, you're probably going to get an argument with him, and then you're probably going to get fined. But in a perf in San Antonio that you don't want to hold up, because it's in a perf. I just rode out of the arena as fast as I could, but I was pretty upset because, like you said, not very many times. That run was for 2,500 for us to make it back, win 4,000 total, and then have to come back and have a chance. That's San Antonio is one of the best rodeos of the year for us. Like that rodeo is amazing. We could go for the first 3 rounds for 2,500, and then the semifinals. I don't even know what it pays, but it pays more than 2,500. So many chances to get good money out there and set yourself up for a good winner. And it really just absolutely just sucked all just taken away just off of a judgment call at the time where he probably thought the call was right. But just the fact that, team ropers, like us guys with a team rope for a living, we know, when it is and when it isn't. But it just felt like this air just got sucked away from me, and I was just upset. And like you said, nothing you can do. You just ride out unsent your horse and ride out and go on the next one, But it just, I don't know what the words were, but just like tell, it was just like instant shock.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Really. I mean, it's not trying to be funny, but like it really just that was the word to come. I think it's just unfortunate that it happened. It just sucks, Yeah.
Oh man.
Just we're trying to make this an entertaining. We're trying to make this an entertaining podcast, just for strictly entertainment purposes. You don't have to say this, but what did Rogers say to the flagger whenever he undallied? Because I remember watching it on TV, and I could see he had a few words to say.
He said,
probably said, "Good
Harry,
call."
Bullshit.
He didn't say, "Man, that was a great call, Harry."
No, he said bullshit, Harry, bullshit. And like that guys, for example, turn 1 million steers. Headers the same way that a lot of guys turn 1 million steers. You have a pretty good idea. There's a reason why Thomas Mack, he rode out of the arena and he didn't say nothing, but that one he hadn't just kind of
he was instantly
because instantly like there's no way.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and he's headed for
even Eric will tell you at the NFR.
He's been flagged out a lot.
Yeah,
he knows.
Even Eric will tell you at the NFR. He'll be the first to tell you. It was close. Yeah, it's Crossfire. No, it wasn't. I mean, yeah, it was borderline. Yeah, he got flagged out. I thought it was Crossfire. He's told me that. I mean, that's what it is. What it is. But that one, I'd love for you to have a cup of coffee and sit down and argue with him about it because it ain't gonna fly with him. But
right. Well, man, we appreciate you coming on the podcast, and I think that's the thing is we're just trying to have an open dialogue about it, and I think the biggest thing, like my takeaway from it, was the fact that these steers, how they present themselves, how you present the shot, and the situation just changes so much for a healer, and I think there's just times where, like at the NFR, I don't think you have the opportunity to go another swing. It's not like that steer's going to be very easy right there. And then, you talk about where the flagger should be to watch. Well, if he's over there where, like we talked about earlier, well, he might be in the way if you do go another swing and your header's coming back. And so there's all these variables in this run. And it just seems like the one thing that could happen was maybe some of these could get overturned with some video replay. And I know it couldn't happen at all the rodeos all year long, but you'd think a few of the bigger ones might happen. So, but right. Peyton, thank you, man. I really do appreciate it. Dustin, you got any questions for him, or Peyton, you want to add anything?
I don't have anything else for him.
Is that at my pro rodeo career, I've been flagged out twice, and you guys just seen both of them.
that's twice more than me.
Yeah, you're still 2 ahead of pace. So
I've healed at a pro rodeo too. So don't get me wrong. It's not like I have not entered. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, Peyton, we appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on, man. And best of luck to you this year.
That's the beauty of it too.
Go ahead.
You're good. You're good. Go ahead. What's the beauty of it, Peyton? You're saying?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, there's just such beauty of it from going from, the amateur, the USRC, the amateur rodeos to pro rodeos is, that's where you learn all this stuff from, and you got, whatever foundation. But nowadays, like you said, rodeos are, guys like us, going for the ranks and stuff. We know you got a pretty good idea, and like you said, on amateur rodeo, yeah, I got flagged out a couple times because you live and learn. But when you get to pro rodeos and stuff, it's higher level, and you kind of expect more, more. And that's where the bar is a little bit different, and that's where that's where the judges are usually a little better, and that's where I feel like you get a better feel of the run of what is and what isn't. Because I feel like if it flies at the amateur, it won't fly at the pro rodeos.
Yeah, and then I think also from the competitor standpoint, you gotta have accountability on your end. And that's what's kind of fun is we got to break these shots down with you and kind of see why. And these are the biggest moments you get rodeoing right here. I mean, that's 9th round NFR, and then to get your outlook and to be so good about it, man, because that's your goal is you want to have a chance for world titles, but you want to be willing to take the shot. And I think that's what what you've shown is your ability to do it. You've very close a couple of times. One, you're just kind of another team ended up winning a little bit more money at the finals, but Paul and Colby, they had to win the round, and your heel shot was great right there. And to come back and be in a similar situation, it's just, I like that mentality. It's a guy that's trying to win. It's a guy that's trusting what he's got. So I don't think there's anything wrong with those shots. It's just, sometimes it just doesn't go your way. And that's part of life, and that's part of rodeo.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, man, thanks again. I know it was a little bit of a challenge to get you on, but we got it figured out today. And enjoy that Arizona sunshine and Tucson next week. So good luck over there, man.
Slow down, all right? Quit getting called out.
Yeah.
I got some.
I used to be Crossfire. They used to call me a crossfire king at the amateur rodeos. I got flagged out twice 1 week, and now I guess we better bring it back.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got some healing videos. I'll send you some, and
Yeah.
you might get I promise no one's even.
You're not getting
close.
called out if you throw where he throws.
Yeah, you might not win anything either. No, you're not going to win anything. I already know that.
All right, Peyton. Well, we appreciate
I'm
your
gonna blame
time.
you guys. Actually, I'm gonna blame you guys because I watched Jake Long's instructional video and then I got flagged out. So I'm gonna blame you guys.
We had you too hyped up.
You know what? We'll take the blame for that. We'll take that.
That's business, baby.
We're risk takers, man.
Yeah, it's part of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Peyton. We'll let you get going. Thanks, man.
You bet. Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, we're going to get to a quick word from RPX. RPX Enterprises, specializing in supplementing the American cowboy. Everything from energy to joint pain to general health and wellness. All right, I know this is an easy company for us to get behind, Dustin, because you've told me a little bit about taking some of the supplements to help out your shoulder. So what was your experience like with RPX?
It was great. I took RPX when I started to have shoulder problems again, and I literally changed nothing with diet, exercise, anything like that. I just took the products, and it really helped my shoulder. I went from not being able to rope very many steers to I could practice all day long and have very little to no pain in my shoulder at all. And I know a lot of ropers have shoulder pain is a pretty common problem for a lot of ropers. So it'd be cool to go check them out and see what they're all about.
Yeah, that's myzingular.com for more information and to order your products. That's myxyngular.com, myzingular.com. We really do appreciate working with these companies, and if you support them, that helps us keep growing and keep doing what we want to do with this.
All right, Pace, how do you think today's episode went?
Man, it's pretty fun. We kind of get the perspective from Wesley on what it was like to win the world title. I had never thought about that, like the pressure that you get. So it's pretty cool to kind of dive into some of those things. And then also, it's the dialogue between like cowboy and judge it's kind of a weird culture in general. And to kind of get the perspectives from both these guys, we're obviously trying to make the sport better and trying to have it where there's not as many calls that people don't agree with, right? And so I think that's just trying to bridge the gap on that. And so it was pretty fun to hear that. What about you?
Man, I thought it was cool to hear Thorpe's insight on some things about how, talking about how his life kind of changed after the NFR, and he put the weight of the world on his shoulders. It kind of sounded like for a little bit, and it made him go into a little slump, and he talked about that a little bit. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then hearing Peyton's side of the story on why he was kind of defending his case a little bit on what he thought was right or wrong about the calls. And so, but at the end of the day, I thought both guys handled themselves very well today. And because it's a touchy subject to talk about, and you don't want to be on record saying something that is controversial necessarily. So I thought it went well.
Right. And the one thing about Paden that I think is so crazy, right, is the shot at the NFR is not a mistake.
No,
I think where he cuts it loose is the right spot. And I thought it was crossfire how it looks to me. But if it wasn't called, I wouldn't I wouldn't say it was. It's just one of those, the steer and the situation is just one of those spots that you very rarely see. So that's kind of what sucks about that whole deal is I think it's a great heel shot. And I just think how the rule reads, it got him kind of there. But I don't know. That's
yeah, and I think the whole reason for this conversation that we had today is just to get the people educated about what's going on and what these guys face are up against, because like we talked about a little bit, like it's bigger than just one steer sometimes. You get called out at Vernon, Texas at the circuit rodeo. That doesn't change your life, but the 9th round of the NFR can.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to have these topics, and hopefully one day they will look at the crossfire rule and maybe make a few minor adjustments to it. And just because team roping's changed so much, and to me, I look at it like the NFL. The rules have changed a lot in the NFL in the last couple of years, and football's not the same as it was in the early 2000s, and so I think team roping kind of relates in a little bit same way to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the other deal is there's a lot of rules that change and have to evolve because the sports do. And then also the video replay, how it's used. I think there's a spot for it. I don't know how it can benefit everyone, but I do think that should be a conversation. I know with like Luke Branquino a few years ago, that was a big deal. And I think that there's definitely room for it. I think the WCRA seems to be be using it a little
Yeah.
bit, and I'd like to kind of hopefully see the video aspect kind of help the sport out, right?
Right. Yep, for sure. Well, I think that about wraps it up. For anything else you want to add?
Should we try to sell RPX or
One
should
last
we,
time? RPX.
we really do appreciate it though.
Yeah.
RPX Enterprises
They
helping
were
us.
the sponsor of the show today, and they've been a great partner for us so far, and we look forward to working more with them in the future. So you guys go check them out. It's myzingular.com if I remember correctly. So go check them out, and we'll be talking to you guys next time.
Thanks for listening.